Good morning and welcome back. This morning we are taking a look at autism here in Georgia and how it is affecting local families. The autism diagnosis can be scary for any parent out there. It can raise a lot of questions, from how will my child function in school to what caused this. Maggie and Lance Jeffries, they know all about autistic children. Their son Jude was just diagnosed with autism, and they join us here this morning. Maggie and Lance, thanks for coming on and kind of sharing your story with us. Lance, I'll ask you this. What were some of the signs? Your son is about to turn 3, Jude. What were some of the warning signs as he was, growing up in your household that you said, something just isn't right?
Around 16 months, we noticed that he didn't have eye contact. He wasn't responding to his name. And my wife became concerned. Initially, I kind of brushed it off as he's a boy. Slower developing, not to be concerned.
So you take Jude to the doctors, and Maggie, what do doctors tell you?
Well, our pediatrician was very proactive, and we have a typical daughter that is 5, and she was speech delayed and did not speak until she was 2. So we were not too concerned with Jude not speaking, but our pediatrician was very proactive, and she said, let's contact Marcus Center. Let's see, because of all our concerns that we had with Jude. So we really stayed after it.
So when you take Jude to other doctors, you go to, I'm sure doctors and specialists that treat children who are autistic. What did they tell you? Because I'm sure there's a lot of families who may be watching right now saying, what do we do? Is there a cure for autism? And what did doctors tell you?
Well, we first went to the Marcus Center and got the evaluation and then got the diagnosis. You kind of stumble at first because you get this diagnosis that your son's autistic, and there's not really a clear roadmap of what needs to be done. And thankfully, Autism Speaks puts out the 100-day survival guide.
Okay.
And
what is that survival guide? What did they kind of teach you in those 100 days?
Well, that was the kind of blueprint of like what we needed to get done and where we needed to go, what specialists we needed to see. So once we had that diagnosis, we knew where we needed to start. We needed to get speech therapy, occupational therapy, possibly behavioral therapy, and in our son's case, we also needed to get food therapy. And then we needed to get him at least 25 hours of social interaction, engagement in a program. And we got a lot of those services through Marcus Center.
How are things going with Jude now? He's about to turn 3. You really was diagnosed at age 2. It's been a year now. Those 100 days are over. What's life like for you guys now as a family? Is it working, the therapy working, or is it a struggle?
It is working. He is doing great. There's definitely days that we're struggling, and we know we have a long road ahead of us, but he's starting to communicate a little bit. His feeding, the feeding program at Marcus Center was amazing. He's starting to eat different foods, which was a real challenge for him. He still has some behavior issues, but we're working with an ABA therapist. This last year has been a challenge, but we've seen a lot of progress with his speaking and just his behaviors. And
do doctors give parents who have an autistic child a lot of hope as to, there have been children who've kind of done this therapy, and by the time that they're teenagers, they're just like your typical daughter who would be at 5 years old when she's 18. Do they kind of give you that hope, or what are the realistic expectations they give new parents?
There's no guarantees. I think what they push really is, what's critical is early intervention. You're going to get the best results by getting early detection, finding out, and then getting the treatment as early as possible, as young as they are. And that's going to give you the best results. But there's no guarantees.
All right, there's so much controversy about autism and diagnosing it. Has it been around for a long time and perhaps doctors weren't aware of it back in the day? Or is it something that we are doing as a society that is causing kids to be autistic? You guys are living examples of what's happening in the world of autism. What's some of the stuff that you're hearing, and what is your belief, if you don't mind sharing that?
It's really unknown. I wish I knew or had a good idea. We eat an all-organic diet. We don't eat fast food. We've done everything by the book. My wife took all the vitamins before pregnancy, conception, and we feel like we did everything we could possibly. I really don't know. If I were to guess or have a theory on it, I would think it's possibly environmental. But right now, I don't feel like it's vaccinations for myself, but I
And
know
the
some
reason
people,
why I ask is because I think it's important for people to understand about autism, and is that, you know, it knows no social background, right? You know, I mean, wealthy people, poor people, it just does socioeconomic backgrounds. It just doesn't seem to discriminate against one group of people. It seems like walks of life. You said you took care of yourself while you were pregnant, and so your child was born autistic. And so what do you say to other parents out there who are about to go through what you guys went through? I'm sure that first 100 days is especially tough. What's some of the advice that you can give out there to other parents?
Seek support and help through Autism Speaks.
Are there support groups out there? Are you able to talk to other parents who are kind of going through some of the stuff that you are?
Yes, that is the best thing, is that there are support groups out there that really guide you and can lead you through what you're going through, because no one knows if they're not in your shoes. So the support groups have been amazing, and of course family. Don't be afraid to tell people, because I think that
I'm sure some
key.
people, the reality of life, they may feel shame, or they, you know, they just, you know, I think as all parents would, you have expectations of what your child should look like, what they should be, and they're babies, you know, or they haven't even come into this world yet we put on these expectations of what children should be, and when they're faced with a reality like that, it's got to be tough as a parent. It
is, but this last year, I think, you know, we have so much hope now. When we first were diagnosed, I think we felt we were the only ones out there. We weren't sure what we were going to do, but just with the support groups and everything that we've done, there really is a lot of hope. I think just early intervention is key. And this last year, we've seen so much progress already that we have a lot of hope.
And to know that 1 in 51 boys in the state of Georgia are being diagnosed with autism, that is a high number. You know, that's a fairly high number.
It is extremely high, and it seems to be growing. And I think everyone should be concerned.
Yeah, very good. Hey, listen, Maggie and Lance Jeffries, thank you for coming on the show and sharing your story, and hopefully giving some, you know, hope to other parents who may be watching. Thank you very much. All right, coming up, we're going to head to the other end of the spectrum. We're going to sit down with parents who are raising a teenager with autism. You're going to hear about their experience coming up next. Stay with us.